Fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you if you're young at heart.
An American legend, Frank Sinatra.
For it's hard, you will find.
Dead at 82.
If you're young at heart.
In another part of the world, a nuclear arms race. Who will blink first? And Indonesia melting down. Those who can, trying to get out.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. It's been a day of great contradictions. A celebration of the life and music of America's best-known entertainer, Frank Sinatra, dead tonight at the age of 82. But a day when the world's leaders were unable to stop the escalation of nuclear power and threats between two bitter enemies, India and Pakistan. We're covering it all tonight, and we begin with Sinatra's death, which brought to an end a remarkable life that was on one kind of stage or another for 6 decades. NBC George Lewis tonight begins at his home.
Tonight, a crowd stands vigil in front of Frank Sinatra's home.
Frank Sinatra's family appreciates the outpouring of love and affection from countless fans.
You'd never know it, but Buster, I'm a kind of poet. And I got a lot of things I'd like to say.
Frank Sinatra was at his best when he was singing about lost loves. And now the world has lost the man who towered over every other popular singer in the 20th century.
I think every American would have to smile and say he really did do it his way.
It was just after midnight when word of his death came from Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. The cause, a massive heart attack.
He has been in poor health, I can't say failing health, but he's been in poor health for the last 2 to 3 years.
Sinatra's last TV appearance, a 1995 special saluting him on his 80th birthday. The producer of that show, a friend of Sinatra, talked about how the entertainer spent his final hours.
He was outside and he was kind of adorably grumpy, and he was his own sweet, wonderful self.
Today, a man with a clarinet serenaded one of Sinatra's 3 stars on the Hollywood Boulevard Walk of Fame as other people brought flowers. The usually quiet street in front of Sinatra's Beverly Hills mansion became crowded with TV camera crews as friends and family members dropped by to pay their condolences. Singers Steve Lawrence and Edie Gourmet came and went before dawn. The fans showed up all day long and are still there.
If I didn't have a car, I would have walked here, or I would have hitchhiked here. I just have to be here.
He is survived by his wife Barbara and 4 children. The family says funeral services for the entertainer will be strictly private, with burial expected to take place in Palm Springs. George Lewis, NBC News, Beverly Hills.
We'll have more on Frank Sinatra later, but now to the most populous part of the world and 2 major trouble spots tonight. India and the atomic bomb, which the Prime Minister today all but promised to build as a nuclear warning to neighbors Pakistan and also China. And so far, the world's leaders are unable to do anything to stop this escalating arms race. NBC's Ron Allen is in India tonight.
In India, more threats, as the Prime Minister declares for the first time his country now has the capacity to build a big bomb.
He said that this is for self-defense. We are not warmongers. We are not going to attack anybody. We want peace.
A warning not only to Pakistan, but also, officials here say, the nuclear tests send a message to India's neighbor China, a larger and more powerful border rival. Tonight, U.S. officials on a mission in Pakistan, trying and apparently failing to convince irate leaders there not to match arch-rival India's nuclear tests. America fears a regional atomic arms race.
It's particularly important that good friends like the United States and Pakistan stay in the closest possible touch and understand each other's views at difficult times. This is a difficult time.
What India also wants is respect, especially from the United States, now trying to get world support for tough economic sanctions. Today, demonstrators proud of their nation's nuclear test blasts clashing with police outside the American embassy. The word you hear a lot on the streets is hypocritical. The United States has nuclear weapons, people say. What gives America the right to forbid this nation of more than 900 million people, the world's largest democracy, the right to decide what it needs for its own security?
Sanctions are not going to deter us from our chosen path. Let's be clear about it.
India remains confident proclaiming itself a nuclear state will enhance its standing worldwide, even if for now that decision dangerously increases the threat of more confrontation with its neighbors. Ron Allen, NBC News, New Delhi.
And in Indonesia tonight, the world's fourth most populous nation is on the verge of total collapse as the rioting continues there. The army is in the streets. Those who can are getting out of the country, including thousands of Americans. And NBC's Ned Colt is there tonight.
Desperate to flee the anarchy of recent days, tonight Americans and others crowd outside the U.S. ambassador's home in Jakarta.
It's gotten to the point where, your life is not safe, so you have to make a decision. So, we really felt vulnerable.
David Murphy hopes to get on a special flight out of the country, arranged by the U.S. government. At the airport, many more waiting in vain. Few planes are leaving Indonesia.
It's a matter of getting the family out. That's the main thing.
This is what they're trying to escape. After 3 days of riots, the capital still burns. 3 days of mayhem, gutting much of the city. Fire trucks unable to gain access. Roads are choked with debris. Nearly 200 dead when looters set fire to a shopping mall. Most of the victims, looters themselves. Gangs still roam the streets, but now they face President Suharto's soldiers. Order returning to the city after days of mob rule. Order maintained by more than 10,000 elite troops. Suharto's political future may lie in the hands of the military. They've backed him for more than 3 decades, but now they control the streets of the capital. The question is, how long will they stand by Suharto when the people are so clearly angry with what they see as a corrupt and repressive regime? As opposition grows to a leader accused of bankrupting the country, the military must make a decision to side with Suharto or with those who demand he step down. Ned Colt, NBC News, Jakarta.
When we come back, we'll have more on Frank Sinatra tonight. Special in-depth coverage, the life, the times, the music, the legacy of the man.
Because I've got you under my skin. Yeah, I like you under my skin.
Frank Sinatra came from a working-class family. He never finished high school, but he had big dreams, and by the age of 28, he had his first solo hit. His career included more than 72 solo albums, more top 40 albums than any other artist, and he appeared in almost 60 films. This was a life of remarkable achievement, but it was also filled with drama and scandal. But first and always, there was that voice.
The melody haunts my reverie.
He took lyrics and turned them into poetry. Frank Sinatra was quite simply the most important popular musician of the 20th century.
She'd never bother with people she'd hate. That's why the lady is a tramp.
The legend began in Hoboken, New Jersey. During a stint with a local singing group in 1939, he was discovered by trumpeter Harry James, who put him to work for $75 a month. In less than a year, Sinatra jumped to Tommy Dorsey's orchestra.
It's the last call for love.
But real stardom came in 1942 when he appeared solo at the Paramount in New York.
When we opened that morning, nobody knew what to expect, and they let out a yell, and I tell you, I thought the top of the roof would come off of the building.
He became popular music's first sex symbol, filling a need for women who missed their men in World War II. There were lucrative contracts. One concert brought $30,000 in a single week. Huge money. And there was Hollywood. But in 1952, Sinatra's career took a steep slide. his sound went out of style. Surprisingly, it was a performance as a dying GI in From Here to Eternity that earned him an Academy Award and marked his comeback. Later, he led the Rat Pack of Sammy Davis Jr., Peter Lawford, and Dean Martin. He stood for glamour and style and high living.
Deep in the heart of me.
But there was always that dark side as well. Sinatra was sued for punching a rider. He had too many mobster pals, too many girlfriends. And there were 4 wives. The first, Nancy, who bore his 3 children. He left her for actress Ava Gardner, his great love. The marriage lasted just 11 months. Frank was 50 when he married a 20-year-old Mia Farrow for 2 years. Since 1976, his wife had been Barbara Marx.
Fairy tales can come true.
Frank Sinatra was a bundle of contradictions, Mr. Charm, but the dark brooder, but always that voice.
It's witchcraft.
And by the time he was forgetting lyrics and needed a teleprompter, it was a little sad. But by then, the man, his music, the myths were part of our memories forever.
Without a song.
All over this country tonight, there are memories, personal and collective, of the chairman of the board, and NBC's Jim Avila has a look at how Frank Sinatra's fans are remembering him.
A people's tribute on the streets of Frank Sinatra's hometown, Hoboken, New Jersey.
He'd never bother.
Just sit on my bench and listen to Frank all day.
Across the Hudson from Manhattan, working-class Hoboken knew Sinatra by his records, like the rest of his fans. Bartender Leo DeLizzi remembers the day Frank said goodbye, rarely crossing the Hudson again.
He says, Leo, I don't think I'm going to see you no more. I said, why? I signed up with Tommy Dorsey's.
Sinatra was a big city guy. Home was the best hotel room in New York, Chicago, Miami, or Vegas. Anywhere where the bars stayed open late and the maitre d' held his table. From Patsy's on New York's West Side, where he got his favorite red sauce.
He touched you in many ways.
To the woman in Chicago's Little Italy who served him chicken Vesuvio, reliving her days as a bobby soxer.
I'm the girl that sat in the first row of the Chicago for 4 shows. I adored the man since 1939. It's been a long love affair.
At Jilly's Saloon in Chicago, Sinatra biographer Bill Zamey remembers it isn't just the voice fans loved, it's the style.
I mean, he's the little guy who made it. He's the guy, he's tough, he's tender, he's warm, he's ready to fight for what's right.
Chicago columnist Irv Kupcinet followed Sinatra since the 40s and knows his fighting side well.
Frank and I were very close friends until I wrote something he didn't like, of course. Then he'd pick up the phone and use a few expletives to tell me what he thought about me.
The summer wind.
Singer Jimmy Damon built his act around Sinatra songs. It's not a nostalgia act. Sinatra's work sounds fresh even to young ears.
It's the most beautiful experience I've ever seen as an entertainer, to have such a large mixture of young adults, and senior citizens, and many of them are just dancing.
But not today. Today is for ballads, torch songs.
Till we meet again, Frank, sing it again.
Jim Avila, NBC News, Chicago.
And again.
Up next, Sinatra's remarkable impact in this country, the voice, the influence, the style that crossed decades.
You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you.
Now to the enormous impact that Frank Sinatra had on the popular culture of America. It was pervasive from the time that he was a 1940s teenage heartthrob to just a year ago when a hit movie called Swingers chronicled 20-somethings in Los Angeles still trying to emulate Frank's swagger and style. In today's parlance, Frank Sinatra lived large, and America loved it for the most part. More on that tonight from NBC's Bob Paul.
All he did was change American pop music and our culture. 5 generations later, the swing and the sexiness he introduced live on.
If that isn't love, it will have to do.
The face was bony, the Adam's apple bobbed, but the voice was a jewel, and with it, he did what no one else had ever quite done.
He understood the lyrics. He often explained to me that you have to know what you're singing about.
Sinatra's voice, what one called the voice from the end of the bar, turned music into an aphrodisiac. Music to make love by, said writer Gay Talese, and much love had been made to it all over America.
He was our leader. He really was our leader. The guy was the best.
Bing Crosby was his original inspiration, but the impact of Frank Sinatra went far beyond that of a crooning balladeer.
Let's take it nice and easy, was as profoundly developed as any musician on any instrument who ever lived.
The sound was creamy, pure, the technique superb, his timing flawless. But it wasn't just how it sounded, it was also how Sinatra did it, his way, all or nothing at all.
Go that bar, lift that bell.
And in the process, Sinatra became what Talese called the embodiment of the emancipated male, the man who can do anything he wants, anything, because he has the money, the energy, and no apparent guilt.
Sinatra never took a defensive posture. He said, this is who I am. This is what I do, here is where I'm going, and stop me if you can.
With the talent, with the attitude, Sinatra became an icon, the first American-born heartthrob to make Americans shriek and wail a full decade before Elvis. His wardrobe set styles, his hard-drinking macho way set the tone for the celebrated Rat Pack. He aged, but mostly he endured, appealing for more than 50 years, spawning a host of imitators then and now, sharing the limelight, if not the talent, with younger artists. A lyric, he once said, can be a lament or a joy, and in his case, the sum and substance of a person's life.
It was a very good year.
Looking back, his friend Shirley MacLaine said that Sinatra helped us understand our lives more clearly, doing it with a voice magic for the wee small hours of the morning, magic anytime. Bob Fall, NBC News, Washington.
When we come back, more of the day's other news, including a total recall of a popular new car. None of the hotspots making news tonight. NBC News has learned that in the summer of 1996, Democratic fundraiser Johnny Chung, in fact, received $300,000 from a Chinese military arms dealer, as reported today in the New York Times. Much of that money later found its way into the coffers of the Democratic Party. Michigan, Volkswagen is recalling all 8,500 new VW Beetles sold in this country. They need repairs to their wiring to prevent engine fires. So far, this defect has not led to any accidents, however. And Washington, more 737s are being pulled from the skies. The Federal Aviation Administration says it wants newer models of the planes checked for faulty wiring in fuel tanks. On Wall Street today, jitters about instability in Asia and some weak corporate earnings sent the Dow down back below 9,100. The NASDAQ was down as well. For the week, the Dow was up, NASDAQ, it was down. We'll be right back.
It's up to you, New York, New York.
There were so many sides to Frank Sinatra, all of them sharply drawn. The man left a strong impression wherever he went. Not always a pleasant one, almost never an apology. Not his style. Even his friends were puzzled by the swings of the benefactor and the bully. But in the end, what we remember is what brought him to the stage and kept him there for so long. We'll remember that he was a greatly gifted musician whose instruments were his voice and his intelligence. When all else disappointed us, the voice almost never did. The voice and the very idea of Frank Sinatra. It may be the cliche choice, but this lyric summed him up as no other.
Regrets, I've had a few, but then again,
too few to mention. I did what I had to do. I saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew, and through it all